If you do not set guardrails for AI, your organization will still adopt it. It will just happen in a way you can't see, can't measure, and can't defend. That's the part most leaders miss. Guardrails are not a barrier to adoption. They are the only way to make adoption defensible. And in small and mid-sized organizations, you don't need a giant program. You need a small program with the right guardrails in the right places. Today, I'm going to give you those guardrails, 7 of them. If you implement nothing else from this entire course, implement these 7. Let me walk you through them. I'll be quick on each one because the goal is for you to remember the list, not memorize the manual. Guardrail 1, identity and access. AI tools should be used through corporate identity, not personal accounts. Corporate accounts only. Multi-factor authentication enabled. Role-based access where the tool supports it. And remove access when someone leaves. This one prevents data exposure through personal accounts and orphaned access after offboarding. Guardrail 2, data boundaries. Every team needs to know what data is allowed, what is restricted, and what is never to be input into an AI tool. 3 categories, 1 page, plain language, department examples that make it concrete, and a never input list that is short enough to remember under pressure. Guardrail 3, logging and auditability. You don't need perfect logs. You need enough to reconstruct what happened. Who used the tool, when they used it, what workflow it supported. For assistants, what sources were accessed. For agents, what actions were taken. The day you have an incident, those logs are the difference between a calm response and a panicked one. Guardrail 4, connector governance. This one matters more than most leaders realize. Connectors. The integrations that let an AI assistant access your company data are where risk explodes. Connectors off by default. Connectors allow listed by approval only. Connectors scope to approved sources. Connector changes tracked and reviewed. Treat connectors like privileged access because that is what they are. Guardrail 5, human review rules. Anything customer-facing requires a human review before it goes out. Drafts are great. Drafts to a customer without human approval are a trust event waiting to happen. Build the review step into the workflow itself, not as a hopeful afterthought. Guardrail 6, verification for high-risk actions. Money movement, identity changes, vendor payment updates, HR actions, anything with legal exposure. Out-of-band verification, every time, even when the request looks like it came from the CEO, especially then. AI-generated impersonation is now convincing enough that your old verification habits are no longer enough. Guardrail 7, vendor clarity. For every AI tool your organization uses, you should be able to answer, where does the data go? How long is it retained? Is it used for training? Who is accountable? And what does the exit look like? If you cannot answer those questions for a vendor in your environment, that vendor is a guardrail problem in waiting. 3. Here's the next layer. The 7 guardrails apply to everything, but the intensity of each one changes based on which AI mode you are operating in. Copilot, assistant, agent. Copilot guardrails. This is the lightest control posture. Identity and access, data boundaries, basic logging, and human review for customer-facing output. That's most of what you need. Copilot mode is forgiving as long as people know what data is off limits. Assistant guardrails. Now connector governance becomes the central issue. The assistant accesses your company knowledge. So the question is, what did it access? What should it have accessed? And what should never have been within reach? Add source-level scoping, source attribution in responses, and regular reviews of which connectors are active and why. Agent guardrails. This is the highest control posture, and it should be. Approval gates for any action with consequences. Least privilege so the agent can only do what it's authorized to do. A kill switch that can stop the agent immediately if something goes wrong. Verification rules for any high-risk action. Logging at the action level. And explicit human-in-the-loop checkpoints for anything customer-facing or legally exposed. The rule is simple. Risk increases as AI moves from writing to retrieving to acting. Your control posture must increase with it. One of the most common mistakes I see leaders make is trying to implement the guardrails themselves. That's not your job. Your job is to verify that the right guardrails exist, not to write the SOP for each one. Here's the line between what leaders verify and what teams implement. Leaders verify that an approved tool list exists, that data boundaries have been written and communicated, that logging is on, that high-risk workflows have verification rules, that connectors are governed, that vendors have been screened, that the right owners are accountable. Teams implement the SOPs, the training, the day-to-day operation of each guardrail, the detailed documentation, the technical configuration. If you cross that line, if you start trying to write the SOPs yourself, you'll create a bottleneck and slow the program down. If you ignore the line, if you don't verify the guardrails exist, you'll discover the gaps during an incident. I want to leave you with one more idea because it's the pattern I see most often. Tools do not fail first. Governance fails first. When the rules are unclear, people improvise. When people improvise, risk grows quietly. And by the time the tool failure shows up, the governance gap has been there for months. Minimum viable guardrails are how you keep that pattern from playing out in your organization. Not a 100-page policy, not a perfect program, just the right small set of controls owned by the right people, verified by you. Here's the close. The goal is not perfect security. The goal is controlled adoption that stays investable. If you implement the 7 guardrails, scale them appropriately by AI mode, and keep clear lines between what leaders verify and what teams implement, you will be ahead of most organizations in your industry. Not because the technology is harder than they think, because the governance is more disciplined than they expected. If this episode was useful, subscribe and like. And in the comments, tell me which of the 7 guardrails is the weakest in your organization right now. Naming it is the first step to fixing it. Next step, how to write data and privacy rules that people will actually follow. Not the legalese, the practical, plain English rules that protect your organization without slowing it down. See you there.